I'm Tia Bhatia, and this is my adoption story. I was born in Twin City, which is also known as Ambala, in India, right on the borderline of Punjab. But the story is, I wasn't adopted from there. In the early 1990s, I was given up, and honestly, I don't know the reason why. There could be many reasons, such as being an unwanted child, being a female, or maybe the family wanted to protect me in a way, or give me a better life. There's so many positive and negative reasons, but the condition that I was given in was that I was extremely malnourished. I was very underweight. My bones looked like they were gonna pop out of my skin. My tongue was purple and I had no hips. And I just looked like I wasn't being taken care of. And honestly, female infanticide and foeticide has been a major issue in the past. And it still is quite an issue today, not as much as it used to be. Now, I don't know how I ended up at the orphanage, and I wish I could find out somehow. I would love to know my background and my history, and maybe one day I might be able to. From the orphanage in Ambala, there were a couple of kids that were shifted to another orphanage in Delhi, and somehow I was one of them. Now, my parents got married in 1984 and moved to Toronto. And at that time, they had decided to take the route of adoption. My father always wanted to adopt a baby girl, and my mom loved the idea of giving a child a life that they deserve to have. And so at that time, I don't know what the law is now, but at the time you had to be married for at least 2 years before you got the approval for adoption. And then eventually, after paperwork and all that time, about 4 to 5 years passed after those 2 years. And my parents waited and waited and waited. And one night, they got that phone call that there are 19 girls available for adoption. And lo and behold, next morning, my dad put my mom on a flight and she was on her way to India. While my mom was on her flight to India, her two sisters, my aunts, came to the orphanage in Delhi to look at all the kids. And the first child that was brought out was me. They said that there was something in my eyes that told them to take me, that I just didn't want them to leave me. And I kept saying bye to them, and somehow their attachment just, I don't know, just grew. And they came to a decision that when my mom comes to India, that she better take me as her daughter. Otherwise, my two aunts, one of them would have adopted me in the family. So regardless, I was going to go into the family somehow. But my mom already had said to her sisters that whoever she is, that's it. That's my daughter. So my mom had already was on her way to India with the thought process that that daughter, whoever that daughter is that first comes out, is mine.
Well, I became a mother, and the motherhood took me to heaven. When she was a kid, she started calling me Ma, and I purposely used to ignore her so I can hear again Ma, Ma, Ma. She was so cute.
When my mom arrived and she met me, she said that she felt completely, I'm trying not to get emotional, that she felt completely in love, that she had found the child that she was looking for. And lo and behold, paperwork being done, I was taken into her side of the family in India. Now, this family is huge. There are so many people, so many relatives. And I went from being in the position I was in to a wonderful, wonderful family. And this loud family, they were so loud. And the happiness and everything and the way I connected with that family, everybody accepted me. There was no negative talk. Everyone said that she's our family and that's it. I used to talk to my father, which was back home here. I used to talk to him on the phone and he would be like, I'm your dad, and everything. It was just really, really cute stuff. And obviously I didn't understand as much, but I knew that he was Papa. My mom decided to get me checked up at the doctors to make sure just everything is okay. And lo and behold, everything was good. They said that my health will come back and everything will be fine. After 2 months, my dad finally came to India to meet me, and people who know us will vouch for this. We are completely inseparable. From the moment I saw him to now, this relationship I can't even describe it. All I can say is, I know many of us believe in that upper being. And for me, my God is my dad. Yeah.
I chose the route of adoption because I wanted to give a life and a loving home to a child. It has given me the most beautiful child in the world with abundance of love and affection.
So my health wasn't changing, and my dad decided that it would be a good idea to get me checked up again with another doctor. My family took me to that doctor, and after the full physical, they found out that I had a hole in my heart. So when my mom had called the orphanage to let them know, they said that you could exchange the child, as if I was some defective toy that you could just exchange. And my parents were really surprised, because a child is a child no matter what state, what gender, what age they come in. Doesn't matter. They are a child and they deserve a happy, healthy, loving life. And my father made the decision, no, she is my daughter. And he said that my mom and I would stay in India until I get my surgery and I'm recovered. And then maybe after a year or two, I will be moved to the home that I'm supposed to be in. And he had made this decision, and he was ready and willing to live all the way on the other side of the world from me so that I could get better there. During that month, after tons of prayers and wishing and all of that, my dad had to go fill out some papers at the Canadian embassy and finish all of that up before he came back home. So there is this Canadian doctor at the embassy who checks you up and makes sure that your physical is a-okay, because during that time, again, I don't know what the situation is now, but you have to be a completely healthy baby in order to fly out of India and come to Canada. The doctor was about to check me and I was running around, I was being so hyper and just enjoying life like a kid would. And he didn't even get a chance to check me. He just said, she's fine. All of a sudden, visa stamp, everything was done. So yeah, lo and behold, I came to Canada and I got my surgery within a couple of months. There I was, a healthy baby. So I started gaining the weight that I was supposed to. My tongue started to turn pink, and I finally had hips. So everything was just coming back together. And my parents have done so much for me. They have given me the best life that I probably couldn't even have imagined. When my parents brought me to Canada, there were actually some very few individuals who had asked my father, why did you choose a girl and not a boy? And they said, wouldn't the girl be a burden? And my father said, no girl is a burden. No child is a burden. And he said that there is no difference between a male or a female. And he really wanted a baby girl. You hear a lot of stories coming from many different places about females being a burden because they're not the man of the house. And my father said, no, she is not a burden. She is my daughter. There is no difference. When I was 5 years old, my parents wanted to adopt a boy. The social worker came over to the house, approval was given, and she wanted to meet me and just have a conversation with me. So I was with my family sitting on the living room couch. She asked me the question, would you love to have a brother? And I said, I would love that. Then she said, you will have to share everything. I was completely fine with it. But then she said these wretched words. Take this in, I'm doing this in a sarcastic way. She said, you will have to share your parents. No, I'm not sharing my parents. I can share anything in this world, but I'm not sharing my parents. And my response right away, the moment that I knew that I would have to share my parents, the first words that came out of my mouth were, I'll hurt him. And the social worker laughed. She obviously shrugged it off. And she said, you may want to have a conversation with her and then move on from there. And I just kept saying no. So my parents it just didn't happen. They didn't get a chance to adopt a boy. And by the time I was 16, yeah, okay, I started feeling it that I wanted a sibling. I never said anything. And now in my 20s, I kind of regret not having a brother. I wish I did, but don't tell me I have to share my parents. That's not happening. I'm sorry. It's amazing. Many people say that I look like my mom or I look like my dad, and that makes them so happy. You have to see their faces when you say that to them. And some say I have the same characteristics as my mom or my dad, and that's the thing. They brought me up. Of course I will embody their characteristics. Of course I will embody the things that they believe in. And of course I would begin to look like them. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this saying, but there's this thing where if you hang around someone so much, you begin to look like them. It just happens. Every child deserves to be loved, no matter what condition they are in, what age they are, what's their gender, anything. They all deserve to be loved, and they all deserve a loving home. Adoption is such a beautiful thing, and I know many people who have adopted how their lives have changed, and many kids that have been adopted, their world has changed. Adoption is so beautiful, and one day I know in my future I will be doing that too. I want to give a child a life that they might have not been able to have. That's my story.